What if Deku had the Omnitrix's power? Welcome back to Nothing But Anime. Everyone, we're on part 15 or maybe the last part of the What If Deku Had the Omnitrix's Power series. If you like what you're watching, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. That was what Izuku said as he was in a room with his mentor, his principal, his mother, and the 3 aliens he met the other day and were chilling in the room like it was nothing. Sweetie, it is rude to make noise in a room filled with people, and please close your mouth. Who knows what can fly in it? Inko said as Izuku's mouth was hung open from the sudden appearance from her and the others. He did close it as Nizu took his cup of tea away from his mouth. Here a seat, young Izuku. We have things to discuss. Nizu said. Izuku followed his principal's instructions and sat down as All Might deflated into his true form, and that caused Izuku to panic. All Might. Your secret. Izuku yelled as All Might looked at him and Simple smiled. It's alright, young Midoriya. They know about OFA, Toshi said as Izuku stopped panicking and looked at him. What? Izuku uttered out in a stunned state. I told Tetrax, young AC, and young Zia about it since they're going to help you out on it while in an alien form. And I think I can trust them to keep it secret from others, All Might said. And I knew for the quirk when I started to work here many years ago when All Might started here, Nizu said as he takes another sip of tea. And? How does my mom KK know of it? Izuku asked. Oh, I figured it out, Inko said as Izuku looked at her. Why you figured it out? How? Izuku asked as Inko took out a device from her purse. I took a bit of your hair the day after your exam here at U.A to see how the Omnitrix's DNA matrix and your DNA were doing, and I saw that you had a new gene encoded into your DNA and it was similar to what All Might's was, so it wasn't too hard to figure out, Inko said with a smile. Izuku looked at his mother in disbelief. She knew his secret now and it didn't take long of her to find out. Don't worry, young Midoriya. I was like that when she approached me about it and left me no choice but to tell her about our relationship, Toshi said as Izuku slowly nodded. Okay, can we please get to what we came here for? AC yelled as she pulled down onto her skirt. She really didn't like wearing clothes like this uniform, but she had to do to customs. So what are we here for? Izuku asked. First of, I'd like to thank you for defeating the villains and Vilgax the other day. The school is indebted to you, Izuku, Nizu said as Izuku, for who knows how many times that day, blushed from the praise of him saving the day. It WW was and not. Did what AA hero would do, Izuku shyly said. But still thank you, Nizu said. Now on to OFA. I have to tell you that I'm running out of time, Toshi said, which shocked Inko and Izuku from the news. What? Are you dying, All Might? Izuku asked, afraid that his hero/mentor was dying. And no, I'm not dying, young Midoriya. I'm just trying to say that my time limit has shortened, Toshi said as Izuku's eyes widened, but the 3 who were listening were confused. I'm sorry, but I'm lost here. What do you mean, time limit? Tetrax said. Yes, All Might. What's going on here? Inko asked as Toshi sighed. What I'm trying to say is that I have a time limit on being All Might, much like young Midoriya and the time he has while using the Omnitrix. Anyway, ever since I transferred OFA to young Midoriya, I noticed that every time I went hero, my time would shorten by a small fraction, but on the day of the USJ attack. When I fought you Tetrax, I already used up my time of the day, which was 2 hours and 40 minutes, All Might said. Sorry about that, Tetrax said. It's fine. We both had miscommunication to each other on that day, and we led each other into a fight, All Might said. So, how much time do you have left? Izuku asked. I think about 1 hour and 15 minutes is all I got, Toshi said. An hour and 15 minutes? Izuku and Inko yelled, surprised by the time that the symbol of peace has left. Said symbol started to make some tea for them. Yeah, that's how long I can use my power now. I overdid it too many times when I fought Tetrax. He's one tough customer since he just used his abilities to fight me and shot some of his crystals at me to slow me down. At this point, I can barely look like my hero self of almost 2 hours, Toshi said as Izuku looked down. I'm so sorry. If I was stronger, you would have... Izuku was speaking before Toshi suddenly started to laugh, which caused blood to shoot out Ojiha's mouth. Ha 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 ha. There's nothing for you to apologize to me. Man, are we alike or what? Toshi said as Inko took out a piece of tissue from her pocket. Here, to All Might. Use this to wipe some of your blood from your mouth, Inko said as Toshi looked at her and smiled a bit. Thank you, Mrs. Midoriya, Toshi said as he takes the tissue from her as Inko slightly blushes and looks away from him. And no problem, Inko said with a bit of a stutter. Izuku saw this and raised an eyebrow in curiosity. And he was the only one who saw this scene. After Toshi wiped the blood away from his mouth, he poured some tea for the rest as Nizu refilled his cup and hands 1 cup to Izuku. Here's some tea, Toshi said as Izuku took the cup from him. Thanks, Izuku said. Now to the real reason we're here. I sent Toshinori to bring you here so we can discuss the festival. I believe that you are in a trouble stage as you have no complete control over OFA yet in human form and you don't know how to factor it onto your transformations. So, how will you face this problem? Nizu asked as Izuku looked down a bit and started to think a bit before he remembered something. Wait, I did once. I used it on that Nomu villain in human form and there was no backlash at all, Izuku said. Really, you did? Toshi asked as Izuku nodded. Oh really now? So what was so different when you went for the attack on that brain villain? Nizu asked as Toshi and Inko looked at Izuku, who tried to remember the moment. Well, let's see. We were facing real villains and enemies of the first time. With everything going on, I didn't have much time to come up with a back plan. But I think that was it since I knew that T wasn't training. Izuku said as the words from 13 that quirks can be dangerous and could kill if used wrong. That was the very first time I ever used either the watch of OFA against a living person. Izuku said as the adults knew what happened. I think you subconsciously put the brakes on so that you won't have to kill someone, Toshi said. Yes, I think that explains it. What about you, Mr. Shard? Nizu asked Terex. Nope, I think whatever power he used in the battle. He did put the brakes on it so he won't have to hurt himself and kill the villain, Tetrax said. Well, at least you didn't have to kill Sweetheart. I didn't think you would have to go through with that, Inko said as she knew what it feels like after having to kill someone. And it didn't feel great. Yeah, Izuku said sadly and looks down, as if sensing the emotion of the boy. A ball rolled over to his right foot and the black and green blob went to him to retrieve the ball but stopped when it looked up and saw Izuku locked eyes. Just then it jumped to him and rubbed its head against Izuku's cheek was caught the boy in surprise. Whoa, what the? Izuku said as he felt something and turned to see the black blob rubbing his cheek. Ship, the blob said or barked as Izuku looked at it. Ship? What ship? Izuku asked as he heard someone laughing. He turned to see Zia standing next to him while holding the ball. No, he's not talking about a ship. Ship, Zia said as the blob now named Ship started to wiggle its end. Ship, Ship, Ship barked as Izuku looked at him. Hi there, Izuku said as he set Ship down and the blob lay down next to him. He likes you. I know you were that person we met back at that meanest ship. I'm Zia. Zia introduced herself to Izuku who smiled at the mummy girl. Hi Zia-san. I'm Izuku Midoriya. It's nice to meet you. Izuku greeted the girl as she tilted her head a bit. Izubuku? Zia tried to say his name but said it wrong as it was hard to say for her, which the boy choked a bit. No, Izuku, Izuku said, trying to help the girl on how to say his name. I'll call you Is? Why that? Because it's easier to say than your big name. Zia said as Izuku looked at her of a bit before smiling shyly. Oh, okay then, Izuku said as he saw Zia smile, but since her mouth was covered by her wrappings, he could see that she was smiling from her eyes. All Might got up and then went to the window to see the city. I think that my time as the symbol of peace is almost at a close. I might have to put that title to bed, Toshi said as Izuku looked at his cup of tea. No way, he said, feeling like this was his fault. And some villains out there have already started to notice that. Someone has to step up and keep the people safe, Toshi said while looking at the city before turning to Izuku. I gave my power for one reason. For you'll be the hero who'll take my place, Toshi said as the air in the room started to get heavy. Do you still feel the same way when we met? Do you still feel the same way even after you got the Omnitrix? Do you still want to be a hero who protects those in need? Toshi asked as the young Midoriya in the room nodded. Excellent. It's time for you to prove it, Toshi said as everyone looked at him. This sports festival is something that the pros. No. The whole world will be watching closely, Toshi said as Izuku started to feel nervous and the heaviness in the air started to get more intense. I want you to think of this festival as your debut. You are the next symbol of peace, the next All Might. Izuku Midoriya. I want you to introduce yourself to the world and say, I am here, Toshi said as Izuku's eyes were widen. What, no way. But, that's your catchphrase, Izuku said. I'm sure you know how the festival works, Nizu said as the two older aliens listened closely to this. Why yeah, students are separated by class, years and courses. They are the general, support, business and finally heroic courses fight against each other in a bunch of preliminary rounds with the games themselves changing every year, to cut those who can't make it to the finals. For those who make it to the final round, they fight on one-on-one fights in a tournament. It's like a big round-robin tournament, Izuku said, finishing his explanation on the sports festival itself. So we get to beat each other up just to win a tournament, AC said to Izuku who looked a bit nervous. Why yeah, Izuku said. AC flashes a big toothy grin. Nice. This reminds me for a festival back on Koros. Similar to this but it's different, Tetrax said as Izuku was curious to what he said. How's it different to the one you know? Izuku asked as Inko, Tetrax and Nizu stiffened to it. Why you don't want to know Izuku? Trust me on this, Nizu said which confused the boy. But, trust me. Anyway, this festival is a great chance to sell yourself to the world. The more impact you make in the festival, the bigger chances you'll land with other pros from across the country, Toshi said as Izuku looked at him. Okay, Izuku said which caused his mentor to fall over. Are you okay? Inko asked, worried that the number one hero injured himself. I am fine. Look young Midoriya, I know that I'm asking way too much for you to do this. But remember, you have two things that make you different from the rest for the first years. Toshi said as he got up. And what are they? Izuku asked as Toshi walked over to him and placed his fist onto where Izuku's heart should be. Your heroic heart and the Omnitrix. You have to spark in you that amazing. You have this drive to overcome things, even when they look blink. You have the will to fight and win. You are the ultimate wild card. Toshi said as Izuku looked at him and tears slowly started to fill his eyes. He's right. You are the most unpredictable student in you. A thank to the Omnitrix. You have a clear advantage over your peers on this one. Nizu said. Yeah, but we don't know what the games will be. How do I know what alien to pick in the events ahead? Izuku asked. That's where I come in, Tetrax said as Izuku looked at him. What do you mean? Izuku asked. I mean is that I'll train you for this festival for yours, so you can be ready, Tetrax said. Wait, really? Why? Izuku asked. Yes, he is. Also me. In the agreement that we stay on Earth, I have to come to the school and help you out on the alien trouble, AC said. Yep, and due to me having a bounty on my head. I can't leave yet, so I took up a job here as security and a teaching assistant in your classes, but I have one class with me. Nizu and Inko have together, Tetrax said. And that is? Izuku asked, confused and curious to hear about a new class. It's called Class XPH. For those of alien origin like Misashido, AC, Zia, Ship, Man and you, Nizu said. Me, why am I in this class? Izuku asked. The watch, Toshi said while pointing to Izuku's wrist. Oh, don't worry. The classes are after school so that no one can interrupt us, Tetrax said. So what does the class teach? The class teaches you all on different alien species, their customs and culture, the many different laws across the planets and universe and other stuff, Nizu said. Oh, well I guess that's cool. Yes, and the class will start after the sports festival, so be ready for it, Nizu said. Yes, sir, Izuku said as the bell rang. Well, I guess we're out of time. Meet me and Tetrax at the beach first thing tomorrow morning so we can begin the training. Yes, sir, Izuku said as he and AC got up. Come on, you gonna show me around? AC said as she grabbed Izuku and started to drag him to the door. All right, Izuku said as Ace continued to drag him out the room. Bye big sis. Bye Zia said as she saw the two teens leave. Ship barked. Do you think he's ready of this, sir? Toshi asked as his boss. I don't know, what do you two think? Nizu asked Inko and Tetrax. I saw how he fights. He needs some lessons but he's ready, Tetrax said. I know I'm worried about him but I think he's ready for this, Inko said. Excellent. I believe that this sports festival will be the biggest one we've ever had here, Nizu said, feeling like this sports festival will be big. Class was over and Class A were about to leave their homeroom, but there was a problem. When Achiko opened the door to leave, the class saw students from different courses standing in front of the door. What's going on here? Uraraka yelled, feeling nervous about this. Do you students have some business with our class? Ida asked. We can't get out. Why are you even here? Mineta yelled. They're scouting out the competition Grape Hair. We one of the two classes to fight against real villains and win. They want to see us with their own eyes, Bakugu said as he walked to the door. At least you know what a future pro looks like. So, move it extras, Bakugu said. You can't go around calling people extras just because you don't know who they are. Ida scolded Bakugu, hoping that no one took that in offense. So this is class 1 I heard you guys were impressive and that one of you stopped both the villains that attacked the school a few days ago and caused that explosion above the city. But you sound like an S, said a teen as he walked past the crowd to the front of the door to see Class A. He had messy, indigo-colored hair that flares out in large tufts around his head and notably straight teeth. His eyes were dark purple with white pupils, and are thin and somewhat triangular in shape with no visible eyelashes. They were half closed, and he has very dark eye bags underneath them, which could show that he was tired and hasn't had a good night's sleep of days like Aizawa. Is everyone in the hero course delusional, or just you? This kid asked as Bakugu glared at him. From what I can tell, none of you look all that great. I came here to you. A to be in the hero course but fate had other plans of me. And I'm not the only one. I didn't cut it the first time but this sports festival is the next chance we have to get into the hero course. If we do well in it, the judges can make a spot in the class by taking one of you out if you don't do well in it. The kid said as Izuku and everyone else's I went wide from this information. They could lose their spots if they don't do well in the festival. Scouting out the competition No, I'm here to place a declaration of war against you all. I will take your spot away from you, the guy said. Where the hell did this guy come from? Ida, Achiko, Izuku and Lucy thought. A declaration of war you say? This coming from someone who couldn't even cut it in the entrance exam. The crowd in Class A turned to see Class B's door were also being blocked by the student and one kid came out of the door to them. This kid was a reasonably tall young man with slick blonde hair, which gets shorter the further down his head it goes, styled so that it's parted to the left, his bangs left hanging over his right eye. His irises were a periwinkle purple. His pupils white and his eyes were shaped so that they're slanting downwards towards the far sides of his face left half closed. I'm surprised that you went to this class of losers instead of coming to the real class that fought the villains and won, this kid said with a smirk and his head tilted slightly, which gave him a rather contemptuous look. What the fuck did you say? Bakugo yelled, ready to explode this punk to hell. Clam down, man. He's trying to get under your skin, Kirishima said as he held Bakugo back. Struck a nerve, did I? Oh well, doesn't matter to me anyway. I suggest you all don't take part in the festival so you don't encounter Class 1B in it after we done dealing with Class A and after I'm done with a certain one. This guy said as he glares at Izuku. This runt is the one who defeated the villains at the USJ and escaped death. Not once but twice, and was the one who caused that ship that was flying in the air to explode. He said as everyone turned to Izuku as they looked to where this Class B student was looking at and found the green-haired boy. Izuku felt all eyes were on him and he didn't like it. He started to breathe rapidly as the walls started to close in and all he saw were eyes. Eyes that were going into his very soul. Oh, not talking are you? Are you thinking that you're better than us because you're in a better class? Or are you scared that the events are too much of you to handle? The guy said as Izuku placed his left hand onto his chest, trying to get his breath back while his right hand went to the watch and held it tightly, hoping to just disappear. Back off. Everyone turned to see AC coming out of Class B and her eyes were stabbing into the guy's soul. You have no right to say that. You don't know that he nearly died that day just to save me and my little sister from someone who brought us from the black market. AC yelled, which made everyone take a step back. Yeah, he did nearly die that day. Jiru yelled, which surprised everyone there. I got taken by the same villain that had her and used me as a chip to play so Midoriya could give himself up. He surrendered himself just to save me and he even took a gunshot to the chest when the villain tried to shoot me. Where were you during the USJ attack, huh? While we all had to fight just to stay alive, you were a no-show. I bet you were hiding and crying somewhere, while we and Izuku gave everything just to go through it. He saved everyone and that included you and this school from people who could have easily got in if we died there. He's what we're trying to be, a true hero. If you want to fight him, I suggest you back out since you'll get hurt bad from him, Jiru said as she glared at the kid. Before the blonde could say anything else, he fell to the ground while his eyes fully white. Behind him was Setsuna, Testu, Kinoko, Pony, and Kendo, who had her hand in the air. So he's the one who beat the zero-pointer with his quirk. They say that he transformed into a green, for-arm thing and punched the robot with one hit and transformed back, and there are rumors that he has a support item that allows a quirk that grants him other powers. If he wants to show us that the rumors are true, I want him to be in the festival and show us his quirk. The indigo-haired teen said as Bakugo stared to walk away from the classroom and pushed aside to the kid. You want to talk about the nerd Deku? He's useless as much as I hate stupid face there. I agree with him. Deku is just too dumb and useless to be a hero. In fact, I think he should quit being here and give up his watch to someone who deserves it more, Bakugo said as Class A and those of Class B and AC glared at him. At least he saved me, Mineta, and Kinoko from that hand villain and that big one. You, on the other hand, caused us to get separated and placed in different spots in the USJ just because you rushed into a villain and wanted to fight, Sue said, glaring at the TNT. Yes, and if I'm right, did you get broken ribs after a fight with a villain? Momo asked. Yeah, he did. He got hurt more from that villain and from what I heard. He saved us by burning the villain in the flaming tornado from hell. What did you do when you left the zone we were in? Testu asked. I don't have to tell you shit, metal ass. In fact, I wished he died that day in that explosion, so I won't have to see his stupid face anymore, Bakugo said. Those words didn't sit well with Class A and those of Class B and AC as they were there and saw how destructive that explosion was. The words did strike a nerve of Lucy and Momo. They were about to march to the blonde prick and slap him in the face, when they were stopped by shaky hands. They turned around and saw Izuku, who was still shaking, shake his head no. Instead for them going to Bakugo, he went to the front and stared at the crowd. Look, Kakin, and you too, Izuku said as he referred to the indigo boy and the blonde who was still knocked out. I don't know what I did to you all to make you hate me, but I don't care what you think. I did what was supposed to be done that day. I saved my classmates and teachers and in turn, nearly gave my life up. I was targeted because for something that you could never understand without me explaining. I have to learn from it and get stronger since I broke a promise I made to one of my friends due to my actions. But I will say this class are not losers nor is Class B. We want to become heroes. We're all going to prove it one way or another. It's be my dream to be a hero and to be number one, so if you want to go all out when we face each other, I'll double it, Izuku said as he turned to all the students in the hallway. And I want you all to show the world who you are. Believe in yourselves and don't look down on yourselves or others. Prove it, Izuku said as the students looked at each other and smiled as they felt determined. He's motivating them, Uraraka thought as the hero classes and Alien saw the determination on the other students. That's the spirit, Izuku, Momo thought with a smile. Man, I've never seen or heard Midoriya speak like that. It's so manly, Kirishima said as a tear fell from his eye, only of him to get hit by Bakugo. Ow, what was that for? Kirishima said. Shut it, weird hair. Listen, Deku, you can keep your so-called loser motivation speech to yourself and these losers. I'm winning this thing and I'll show the world just who's the next #1 hero. Not you. Out of my way, Byakugo yelled as he pushed Stidance out of his way so he can leave the building. What an ass, Kendo said. Whatever. I can't wait to meet you in the sports festival and kick your loser ass. The blonde guy woke up and said to Izuku before he started laughing like a maniac. Everyone's sweat dropped at his reaction before Kendo got from behind him and karate chopped him in the neck. Sorry about him. He's like this. Well, see you later, Kendo said as the group started to leave, but she turned and gave Izuku and wink, which caused the boy to go red. The students started leaving the hallway as the day was done. The indigo boy turned to Izuku. I want you to make to the finals. I want to talk to you if we meet in a fight, the indigo boy said as he left the hallway. As soon as the last of the students left, Izuku fell to his knees and let a massive sigh out. Sucked, Izuku uttered out, exhausted from the experience. Right before he felt two arms wrap around him from behind. Eep, that was awesome, Midori, Mina yelled as she was the one who was hugging him from behind. Yeah, that rocked, Izuku. You really proved to them that you want to win the sports festival, Toru said as she was right in front of him. Really? Why you really think I did? Izuku asked, going back in his regular self as two girls were in his personally bubble. I'm not too sure about that. Thanks to you. Everyone will be gunning for us now, Mineta yelled. Well then, we just have to beat them, Tokoyami said. Seriously, even with Midoriya's motivation. Bakugo made us everyone's enemy, Kaminari said as Todoroki started to leave the room quietly, but he stopped when he looked at Izuku, who was being pulled by Mina and Lucy. Mina, let him go. You're making him feel uncomfortable, Lucy yelled. Never. Just who are you really, Midoriya? He thought before leaving the room. Back with the poor boy, he was about to leave when someone came to his rescue. Are you ready now? They turned to see AC still there. Excuse me, but is something wrong here? Ida asked the wolf alien. Yes, I'm waiting for my guild here to finish so he can take me out of the school, AC said as everyone remembered what Aizawa instructed Izuku earlier. Oh, you must be the new student. My name is Tenya Ida. It's a pleasure to meet you, Ida said with a bow which confused AC. Hi there. I'm AC. Just AC, AC greeted. Don't you have a last name? Ida asked, hearing just her name. I'd rather not talk about it, AC said as she looks away. Oh, I see. Sorry if I made feel uncomfortable, Ida said with a bow. Okay, so you're the new student, huh? I'm Mina Ashido. Nice to meet ya, Mina said as she and the others were introducing themselves to her. Izuku smiled at this but turns to see Bakugo still walking away. Kaken, Midoriya apartment, Muzutafu, Japan, time. 19:07 p.m. Earth time. Izuku was in his room, sitting on his desk and was looking at two notebooks. These notebooks were special as they were Alien Notebook Number 1 and Class 1A. If I want to be ready for the festival, I have to be ready, which means I need to brush up on my aliens and on my classmates' abilities and weaknesses, Izuku thought before opening his notebooks and reading them. Time skip. 2 weeks later. Today was the day. It was time of the annual High Sports Festival, and at the Midoriya apartment. The trio were getting ready for the day at UA. Izuku and Lucy were dressed in their normal A attire and had everything ready. Inko was busy fixing his hair. Izuku, please be careful and don't get hurt, Inko said. I won't, Mom. And you too, Lucy, don't overdo it, Inko said. I won't, Auntie. Lucy, I'll be there to watch it with the staff and Zia and Ship. She really wants to see you again. Really? Izuku asked. Yes. She really misses you already. Okay. I promise I'll visit her after all of this is done, Izuku said as he finished tying his shoelaces and him and Lucy got up. All right, we're off, Izuku said as he puts his bag on him. Do your best, you too, Inko said as she gripped her hands tightly. We will, Izuku and Lucy said as they went to the front door and was about to leave but stops. Hey Mom, can I ask you something? Izuku asked. Yes, sweetie. Anything, Inko said, curious as to what Izuku wanted to say. Do you think TT that WW would have been proud of me? Izuku asked. Inko's eyes widened at the question before she smiled and hugged her son. Oh honey, he was proud of you the minute I told him I was having you. I'm sure he's watching you from heaven right now and is happy to see the man you've become today, Inko said. Izuku smiled and hugged her back. Lucy watched this and smiled. This was a lovely moment between the two. Okay, you two should get going. I don't want to make you too late, Inko said as she broke the hug. Oh okay, see you later, Izuku said as the two cousins left the apartment and on their way to school. At UA, fireworks were popping off around the school as people, either news crews or spectators, were coming to the school to watch the first-year sports festival. Outside the gate, a familiar news reporter was standing outside. This security line is huge. What's the deal? The reporter asked, annoyed by the line. Well, U.A was recently attacked by villains, so of course they beef things up. Some say that they shouldn't even have the festival, her cameraman said. Prefect, nothing brings spices things up without a little controversy. Plus, everyone will tune in to see Class 1A and 1B, the reporter said. Outside the stadium, people were at the stands and were buying things and were talking about the first years in the hero course. A group of 3 were walking outside while on guard of villains in case they attacked. Well, 2 were, anyway. At a takoyaki stand, MT Lady, a pro hero, was looking at the foods that was cooking with a craving expression on her face. I'll take 1 order to go please, she said. Whoa, empty lady, is that really you? The stand owner asked with a blush on his face. And hold the salt please, empty lady said with a little bit of drool coming out of her mouth. Well sure, that's gonna be 1053.91 yen, the stand owner said, which caused empty Katie to shake and look for the money in her suit. The other two, Death Arms and Calmy Woods, looked at her and shook their heads. She glared at them before an idea popped in her head. She wrapped her arm around her waist and placed a finger on her lip. Oh dear, my money is in another costume, she said in cute voice which made her more attractive. So hot, it's on the house. The stand owner yelled at the sight of the sexiness as he had a nosebleed. Aren't you a dear? Empty lady yelled while giving a big smile. No sense of shame, Kamui Woods said with Death Arms nodding his head. The three started to patrol around the stadium, while empty lady stuffed her mouth with the food she got. I came here to do some scouting, Kamui said. Yeah. Too bad we got stuck with security this time, Death Arms said. Yeah, they got pros from all over to guard this thing. It's kind the show, empty lady said. The three continued to walk until Kamui spotted someone. Hey, who's that? He said as the others looked to where he was looking at and saw Tetrax in his suit with the helmet on, standing near the student entrance. Don't know. Maybe he's addition help this year? Death Arms said. Yeah, but what's with that gun? Empty lady said as they saw his blaster, hanging on his belt. No clue, Death Arms said as they went to look around more. They passed three teens in their casual clothes as they were heading to the stadium to watch the festival. One of them was a tall young man with a very muscular body who possessed a number of noticeable scars around his lower arms. His eye were blue oval-shaped eyes with no visible sclera, and his nose which was prominently rounder than most. He had blonde hair, which the top part of was arranged in a cowlick style, while the bottom section is worn swept backward. He was wearing a red t-shirt and blue jeans with a unique belt buckle. Another one was also a boy. He was also a tall young man with rather pale skin. His ears were longer than most as the tips were pointy and somewhat elf-like. He had messy, indigo hair which stuck out behind his head, and thin, tired-looking eyes, partially covered by his bangs despite the fact that they're supposed to be split as to not impair his vision. His shoulders were hunched. He wore a long-sleeve purple shirt and black pants. The last one was a girl. She was a fair-skinned girl of average height with wide, curious eyes. Her upper eyelashes were long and thick, and her irises were a royal blue. Her hair was periwinkle, and it reached all the way down to her knees, twisting around itself at her waist and curving inwards around her legs. She had side-swept bangs, tucked behind her ears on the right and hanging just over her eyes on the left, and two short clumps of hair on either side of her face, curved towards her face on the right and behind it, under her ear on the left. Her appearance gave her more of the cute kind than the sexy kind. She wore a dress that reached her knees and a sun hat. Oh, I can't wait to see so many quirks, especially Class 1A and Class 1B's quirks, the girl said with excitement in her tone. Yeah, I know that you mean. I want to see the classes that survived a villain attack. Well, come on. Let's go in so we can get great seats, the blonde boy said. Yeah, come Tamaki. It'll be all right, the girl said as the other boy popped his head out from behind a tree which he hid behind. I don't like this, he said in a shy, soft tone as the other two laughed and dragged him from his hiding spot and went to the stadium. At Class 1A's waiting room, the 1A students were getting ready for the sports festival as some were stretching their limbs to warm up while some sat and waited for them to be called, but one was nervous. Ah man, I really wanted to wear my costume today, Mina said as she looked at her P.E clothes. Yeah, but the other courses don't have special items like we do, so it'll be fair to them, Tsu said. I wonder what they have in store of us in the first round, Sato said, feeling a bit nervous. No matter what they prepared, we must persevere, Tokoyami said with Shoji, standing next to him and nodding. Right? Shoji said. Suddenly the door opened and Ida came in. Everyone, get your game faces on. We're entering the arena soon. Izuku was at his locker with his head on it. He was looking at the Omnitrix. He took a deep breath in, ready to expect anything that was coming. Breath, just breath. You can win this. Don't need to feel nervous at all. We made it this far. Now it's time to show the world who we are, Izuku thought. Izuku! A voice snapped him out of his thoughts. He looks to see Momo was walking to him. Oh, hey Momo, Izuku said. Are you nervous? Are you such that you're ready to do this? Momo asked as Izuku took in another deep breath. Why yeah, I'm ready. Let's show the world what we're made of, Izuku said as he smiled. Momo smiled at the boy's attitude. Midoriya, another voice was heard and the two turned to see Todoroki walking to them. He had a stern look on his face as he stared down Izuku. Momo had a bad feeling that something bad was coming. The others were now looking at the conversation, and that included Achiko, Lucy, Mina, Tsu, Jairu and Toru, and they felt the same way that Momo is feeling. Oh, hey Todoroki. What's up? Izuku asked, feeling confused as to why was Todoroki talking to him, considering that they only spoke to each other once this year. From an objective standpoint, I think that you're possible the strongest in this room right now. Maybe, you're the strongest student in U. So far, Todoroki said as his glance to Izuku changed to razor shape. Izuku opened his mouth to say something but Todoroki kept down. But you have All Might on your side helping you out and that watch of yours has a connection with him somehow. Todoroki said as Izuku flinched at that. How does he know that? Does he know about OFA or the truth of the Omnitrix? But I won't pry anything from you. Just know that I'll beat you in this and win, Todoroki said. Izuku saw the lance that Todoroki was giving him and he felt cold from it. Look Todoroki, I don't know what your problem is with Izuku right now, Momo said as she stepped in, to defend the cinnamon bun and possibly prevent him from having an anxiety attack. But he already has people on him. Monoma, that one kid from the general course, and Bakugu as well. You adding yourself in that race is not helping him at all. You know how shy and nervous he is. But I hope you know what you're doing. He is going to prove to everyone that he's a hero and win this whole thing, Momo said. Yeah, Izuku saved me and Tsu on one occasion and Tsu and the other girl from Class B at the USJ and saved everyone from the villains. So he's proved that he's a hero and he is strong. Besides, what does All Might and Izuku's watch have to do with this? Uraraka asked. This has nothing to do with you two. This is between me and Midoriya, Todoroki said, still staring down Izuku. Well, it involves me. If you threat my cousin like that, then you got me to handle first, Lucy said as she got up and walked to the icy boy while cracking her knuckles. Kirishima got up and got between Lucy and Shoto before the girl could get her hands on him. Whoa there, you shouldn't fight now right before we get started. We shouldn't fight with our friends like this, Kirishima said. We're not here to be each other's friends. Don't forget that this isn't a team effort, Todoroki said as he leaves and walks away from them. Izuku had his hair cover his eyes while looking at the Omnitrix. If that's the case, I accept your war, but be warned. If you don't be everything you got, Izuku said as he looks up and his pupils lit up. I will beat you with everything I got, Izuku said, determination on his tone and face. If one looked really closely to Todoroki, you could see the small amount of amusement on his face from what Izuku said. I would have been disappointed if you did, Todoroki said as he walks away. On the other side of the room, Bakugu glared at the green cinnamon bun with hate after what he heard just now. Why is Icy Hot challenging Deku and not me? The nerd has only beaten me once at anything at this school fucking shit. Deku might be number one, but that'll change today when I beat him to the ground and break that fucking cheating watch of his. I'll make them regret coming here and give me the respect I deserve, Bakugu thought. Once Todoroki went back to his seat, Izuku turned around and held his chest. What was that? Hey, make some noise all you rabid sports fans. Get those cameras ready, media swarm, President Mike said as the spectators in the stadium roared. This year, we're bringing you some of the hottest performances in sports festival history. Guaranteed. I only got one question before we start this show. Are you ready? Mike asked as the fans cheered loudly. Let's being this as the students make their way to the main stage. At the teachers and staff seats, Inko was seated between Nizu, Toshi and Zia who had Ship in her arms. Will I see is today with big sister? Zia asked. Yes, you will, little Zia, and they are going to play in games together, Nizu said. Games? I want to play too, Zia yelled, wanting to play the games too. Sorry Zia, but you're too small to play them now. Maybe when you're old, Nizu said. Oh okay, Zia said, saddened by the fact she could not play today. But you can cheer of your sister and Izuku to win today, Nizu said. Really? Okay, go big sister, go big brother, win win win. Come on Ship, help me, Zia said as Ship bounced from her head and sad barking with her cheering. Inko smiled at the sight before glancing to the tunnel where her son should come out. Are you worried? Inko heard Toshi's voice as she nodded. Yes I am. I just don't want my baby to get hurt, Inko said, worried about Izuku. I'm sure he'll be fine. He's trained for this and is ready. I think he won't be if he knows that you're worried about him and that'll distract him in the games, Toshi said. Inko sighs and nodded. Alright, I'll cheer on my baby, Inko said but still felt a bit worried. Alright sports fans, let's give it up to the first group. They aren't strangers to the spotlight. You know them as one of the two classes to fight against villains. Give it up to one of our heroic course students. Class 1A. Mike shouted as the fans roar as Class 1A come out of the tunnel with Izuku and Momo leading them. Izuku looked around and felt sacred from the thousands of fans that were there in the stadium. Oh man. I didn't think that there'd be so many people here, Izuku said. I just hope we can give our best performances. Even though there are so many eyes watching us, Ida said. Man, President Mike sure knows how to fire people up. Kinda makes me nervous. How are you feeling, man? Kirishima asked Bakugu who shot him an animalistic grin. I'm not worried. Making me want to win this thing even more, Bakugu said. And the other class that battle with Class A to defeat the evil villains. Give it up of Class 1B, President Mike yelled as Class 1B walked to the field. Oh man. This is awesome, Testa yelled, seeing all the fans there. Never thought I'd be in first of a crowd like this, Setsuna said. Well, we better impress them then, AC said as she looked around and saw Izuku waving at her. She turned her head to look the other direction but she waved back to him. Alright. Let's go out there and do our best everyone, Kendo yelled as everyone except one nodded. Yes big sis, they yelled. The blonde kid who challenged Izuku who was named Monoma, glared at Izuku and then to the Omnitrix. I'll squash you into nothing with your quirks. And then I'll be the best, he thought. Next, General Studies. Class C, D and E. Present, Mike declared as the classes walked out and the Indigo Kid led them. Support classes. F, G and H. Present, Mike declared as the students walked into the field, but one girl just smiled. And business course classes. I, K and K. As the last of the students walked out, some were not interested in this at all. I feel like we're here just to make the hero course classes look good. One student said. I can't wait for this to be over with, another said. As all were now in the middle of the field, they heard a whipping noise which caught their attention. Now for the student pillage, a feminine voice said. Nearly all the men blushed as they saw the rated R heroine. Midnight appeared onto the stage. Can someone tell Miss Midnight about what she's wearing? Kirishima said with a blush on his cheeks. Yeah, that costume should come with a warning, Kaminari said with a blush of his own. Is it really okay for her to wear something like that at a high school game? Tokoyami asked. Yes, Mineta yelled while giving a thumbs up. Of course you would like it, Kirishima said to the grape hair-shaped teen. Silence everyone, Midnight yelled as she whipped her whip, causing everyone to shut up. And now for the student pillage. We have Izuku Midoriya, Midnight said as Izuku's mind shut down from what she said. What? Why me? Izuku yelled in horror. One of his biggest fears, besides clowns and heights, was being in front of a large crowd. Well, you did get first in the exam. And you're the strongest one out of us here. So of course it's gonna be you. So go out there and do your speech. Shiro, Kirishima and Sato said as they grabbed Izuku and pushed him to the front. You traitors, Izuku thought as he slowly walked to the stage. Crap. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? What if they don't like it? What if I stutter? Oh man, I can't do this. Izuku thought as he reached the mic and stood there, frozen in place. Everyone was looking at him and he didn't like it. He stared to remember everything that happened to him in the pasted 10 years of his life. The beats, the names, the suicide baiting, the lots. He was about to run away when he heard something in the stands. Izuku looked around and saw Zia waving her hands at him at the top of the stadium where the teachers were sitting. You can do it, Zia shouted as that caused him to remember everything that happened while here at UA. I know what to say. Something that I've been meaning to say for a while now, Izuku thought as he went to the mic and stood there. Take your time, Midnight whispered to him. Despite the way she dresses, Midnight does have care for her students. Izuku nodded and took a deep breath. He looked to the crowd and spoke. Izuku's speech. All men are not created equally. I learned that the hard way when I was 4 years old. I learned that reality. The world isn't fair. The world isn't made of happiness and rainbows. It's made from the darkest and nasty things. I don't care how tough you are, it'll still break you, even when you're not looking. And in the worst way possible. Izuku took a pause as everyone listened or watched onto his speech. One day, I got one of the most horrible beatings I could have ever gotten as a kid. It hurt, it stung, it burned. I could have avoided the beating if I didn't stick my nose into someone else's business, but I couldn't since there was someone who was in danger and needed to be defended. So, I stood there and let the beating happen to me instead of someone else. And it repeated for 10 years every single day. I kept getting beat up, but I never gave up or fell, even when I was on my knees. I stood up and kept moving forward. Now you might be asking yourselves as to why did I keep getting back up even though it led me to getting beat up, and Izuku said. Everyone listened on in anticipation. Insert music. Fairy Tale OST, theme, slow version. It's about how hard you can get hit by anything and still move forward. How much you can take and keep on going. That's how winning is. It's not about being talented or having a powerful quirk. It's about working hard on yourself and giving everything you do, your best. If you go and get beaten up and point fingers, then you're a coward, and nobody wants to fight with a coward. We're better than that. Izuku yelled out as his words were hitting home with the audience, both at the stadium, at home, on the streets and at the students as they watch on in silence, speechless due to his words. Izuku took another deep breath. I dreamt of becoming a hero, but every time, I was put down and called useless and a waste of space. For 10 years, the words, the ridicule and the beatings continued, and even got worse, but even with all that, I never gave up and kept my dream alive. One day, I asked someone if I could be a hero, but unfortunately he said no to the question. Later that same day, I got myself involved in a famous incident. If you want to know, it's the sludge villain incident in the attempt to save one of my classmates. It reminded me of the events that led me to my first beating. The sight of this classmate's eyes that shouted of help. My body reacted before I could even think, and the next thing I know, I'm running towards the action and I go and protect the endangered. That's the main reason that heroes exist. To protect those that can't do it themselves. I managed to save that person's life that day, even though he didn't want my help. Little did I know, that same person I asked my question earlier that day, saw what I did and found me as I was walking home. He looked for me and he said I did someone that no one would have done. I risked my life, just to do what was right, and that's the only damn reason you need. And he said the word that I've never heard in my life, the words I wanted to heard ever since I was 4. He said, Izuku said as he looked down as everyone leaned a bit to hear what was next. What did he said? Izuku looked up and showed the words, his green eyes glowing a bit and tears falling. He said this, young man, you too can become a hero. Toshinori nearly choked on his drink when he realized that Izuku was talking about the day they met and what he said to him. Mark Twain said this. The 2 most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. And I figured out as to why I was born. My name is Izuku Midoriya, and I was born to be a hero to save those who are in danger and need saving. If you need me, I come running to you. That's what heroes do. Even if the whole world is against me, I will still stand tall. I'll keep on fighting and I'll fight until I draw my last breath. Why? Because I have something to fight for. I had people who believes in me and it's the right thing to do. That's my reasons for becoming a hero. Izuku yelled as he turns to the students behind him. Some of you declared a war against me before today. Well, I have this to say, that's fine. I want you to give me your best and fight to win, and this isn't for those who challenged me. I want all of you to do your best in these games, and if you don't make it, that's fine, at least you tried and you can learn from this. Learn to do better. Show the world who you are. Show the reason that you are here. Izuku said as he turns back to the audience to finish his speech up. Fight for your dreams. Fight for them so that they can become a reality. Fight for them and they'll fight for you. My dream is to be the world's next symbol. But not the next symbol of peace, no. I want to be the symbol of hope. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy this year's sports festival as we're going to go beyond. We're going to go plus ultra. Izuku yelled as he walked back to his class. End speech. Silence, complete silence. The stadium was dead silent from what they just listened to, and it continued to be until they heard someone clap, and then 2, then 3, then 16, then 40, and then the whole stadium clapped and roared as they were on their feet and giving Izuku a round of applause to Izuku Midoriya. Nothing but respect, admiration, and determination that Izuku would go far as a hero. Izuku's eyes widened. They were clapping and cheering for him. He heard clapping and cheering behind him and saw that every student except those who challenged him were giving him an applause as well. End music. Asterisk sniff asterisk damn. I never heard a manly speech like that. Those words hit harder than any punch could ever have. Midoriya, you got me all fired up now. Kirishima yelled while wiping his manly tears away. Lucy smiled at her cousin. She was happy to see the reaction of his speech, and she saw the fire in his eyes as he spoke. But she also saw something in them. She saw years of bottled-up anger and sadness that was ready to burst out. It worried her. And she wasn't the only one. Izzy, Lucy thought. Bakugu's mouth was wide open as he watched Izuku being congratulated by Class 1A and even the other students. He thought that Deku would chalk on stage and embarrass himself in front of everyone, but that wasn't the case. Deku, you. Bakugu thought as crackles on his hands went off. Tetrax was on top of the stadium with his board under his feet as he heard Izuku's speech. Not bad, kid. He though before flying lower to sit on the roof. Yeah. Give it up to Izuku Midoriya for that fire of a speech. That speech won't be forgotten anytime soon. President Mike said as the audience cheered ever louder. I have this to say. Midoriya, I'm impressed. Nice job, kid. Aizawa said as he was in the booth with President Mike and felt proud to have someone like Izuku as his student. Tosanori smiled as he watched Izuku walk to his class as the other students clapped to him and patted him on the back. No, only you fired everyone up with your word. You also showed the world who you are. Nice kid, you showed them that you are here, Toshi thought. My baby, Inko said as she was wiping her tears away. In the stand, the trio from before were clapping as well. What a speech. What do you think his quirk is? The girl asked as she was floating above her friends with her phone out to record the speech. I don't know, but I think that watch on him has something to do with it, the blonde boy said. Well, we might see it now. The other boy, who we know is called Tamaki, said. All right, thank you Midoriya for that beautiful speech. It's got everyone fired up, including me. But we have a festival to start. The first game will be... Midnight said as a wheel popped from behind her and span around until it stopped on. An obstacle course race, Izuku said. All 11 classes will participate in this round. You will race around the outside of the stadium, which is a 4 kilometers radius. I don't want to restrict anyone, but... Midnight said as she licked her lips. But as long as you don't leave the course, you are free to do whatever your heart desires. Midnight said as the gate opens. Now then, take your places, contestants. Midnight said. The students went to the starting line as some were stretching and warming up while the grip lit up green. The students got ready as the crowd went silent. Ready to watch. I have to do this. I have to go fast and quick so I can save my time on the Omnitrix. And I can't use OFA, so I'll leave it as a last resort. That and him. Izuku thought as one of the light went dark and he went to the Omnitrix. I have to do this. I know who to pick. I can win this. Izuku thought as another light went dark. Everyone got ready. Toshi clutched his hands in anticipation. I hope you're watching, everyone. Izuku thought as the last light went dark. Begin! Midnight shouted as Izuku slammed down onto the Omnitrix and a green flash went off. To be continued. The 15 part is officially done. If you missed the earlier episodes, check out the playlist for a catch-up. Big thanks to the author. Show them some love. I'll be back soon. Appreciate all your support. I thought we should pause this story for now, because I need to start something more enjoying.